What if the villains think that they're the hero? Today we explore supervillains who believe their actions were for the greater good. From saving their people to fighting for justice, these characters blur the line between hero and villain. Let's dive into their complex motives. Number 10. Magneto. Magneto, a central figure in the X-Men universe. He believes that his actions are justified as a means of protecting mutant kind. Eric Lenscher's traumatic past shapes his worldview today. He sees humanity as a threat to mutant survival, citing historical persecution as evidence that humans will never accept those who are different. Magneto's ideology centers on preemptive action, right? Striking before mutants can become victims of human fear and hatred. To him, his aggressive stance is not villainous per se, but a necessity to secure freedom and safety for all mutants. While his methods often lead to conflict, of course, superhero action, Magneto does see himself as a savior fighting for the oppressed and ensuring a future where mutants can survive and also thrive. Number 9. Ozymandias. Adrian Veidt, also known as Ozymandias from Watchmen, is a genius billionaire who takes extreme measures to save humanity. Convinced that the Cold War will escalate into nuclear annihilation, he orchestrates this catastrophic event that takes out millions but unites the world against a common enemy. Ozymandias believes that his morally dubious actions are for the greater good, sacrificing the few to save the many. His intellect and foresight allow him to rationalize his actions, viewing himself as humanity's sole savior. Right? Can't get worse than that. While his methods are horrifying, his intentions are rooted in creating peace and preventing global extinction. But he doesn't quite nail that, does he? Number 8. Dr. Doom. Robert Downey Jr. is back in the Marvel Universe. This time he's green and mean. Victor Von Doom is a brilliant scientist and the ruler of Latveria. Doom genuinely believes that his intellect and leadership make him the ideal ruler, not just for his nation, but for the entire world. He views himself as the only one capable of bringing order and eliminating chaos, and he's doing it all with a fancy green cape. Despite his ruthless tactics, Doom genuinely cares for his people, providing them with stability and prosperity. He perceives heroes like Reed Richards and the Avengers as obstacles to his vision of this utopian society. Doom's belief in his own superiority blinds him to the destructiveness of his actions, making him a complex villain who thinks that he's saving the world. Something we see often in the Marvel Universe. Number 7. Ra's al Ghul. Leader of the League of Shadows. Ra's al Ghul is committed to restoring ecological balance. He sees humanity's exploitation of natural resources and overpopulation as a threat to Earth's survival. Ra's believes in extreme measures, including wiping out the population. He thinks that this is necessary all to save the planet. To him, he's not a villain, but a steward of nature, willing to make hard choices for the greater good. His clashes with Batman stem from different philosophies. Ra's views Batman as a potential ally who lacks the resolve to take drastic actions for the sake of the world. Number 6. Thanos. The Mad Titan Thanos believes in restoring balance to the universe. But how he does it, it's not so great. Convinced that overpopulation leads to suffering and resource depletion, Thanos sees his plan to eliminate half of all life in the universe as an act of mercy. By using the Infinity Gauntlet, he views himself as sparing civilizations from the brink of collapse. Thanos' logic is cold, but it is calculated, and he genuinely believes that his actions will lead to a universal prosperity. Despite the devastating consequences, Thanos sees himself as a visionary sacrificing everything for the greater good. And he does it all in a snap. Number 5. Killmonger. Eric Killmonger, the antagonist of Black Panther, is a villain whose motivations are deeply rooted in personal pain and a sense of justice. Born in Dajaka, Killmonger grew up in the United States after his father's passing, witnessing firsthand the systematic oppression and suffering of Black communities worldwide. Now, when he learns of Wakanda's wealth and this advanced technology, then he becomes enraged that the nation has remained isolated instead of using its power to liberate and empower oppressed people globally. Killmonger's plan is to take the Wakandan throne, rightfully so, and use its resources to arm and lead a global uprising against oppressors. Now, in his mind, he's not a villain at all, but more of a revolutionary, seeking to correct centuries of injustice. His belief that Wakanda's isolationism is selfish and cowardly resonates with many, even though his methods, conquest and violence are quite extreme. He's still trying to do the right thing. Trying to. Number 4. Sinestro. Sinestro, once a Green Lantern and one of the greatest heroes in the Corps, fell from grace due to his belief that fear, not willpower, was actually the key to maintaining order in the universe. As a member of the Green Lantern Corps, Sinestro was renowned for his ability to protect his sector, but his methods started to grow increasingly not great. He believed that true peace could only be achieved through control and the imposition of fear, leading him to create the Sinestro core, powered by the yellow light of fear, rather than the green one that we all love. Sinestro genuinely sees himself as a force for good, arguing that the chaos of the universe requires strong leadership and uncompromising discipline. To him, the Green Lantern Corps' reliance on willpower is naive, and it fails to address the underlying fear that drives conflict. His belief in the necessity of fear as a tool for justice puts him at odds, of course, with former allies like Hal Jordan. Number 3. General Zod. General Zod, a Kryptonian military leader, sees himself as a patriot and savior of all of his people. When Krypton faced destruction, Zod advocated for extreme measures to save the planet, including overthrowing its leadership. His rebellion, of course, failed and he was banished to the Phantom Zone, but his devotion to Krypton remained unshaken. After Krypton's destruction, Zod's focus shifts to rebuilding his own civilization. And when he discovers that Earth exists and his connection to Superman, Kal-El, the son of Krypton, Zod sees the planet as a new home for Kryptonians. He views humanity as an obstacle to his noble mission of restoring his people's greatness. In his mind, conquering Earth isn't an act of villainy at all, but it's actually necessary to ensure Krypton's survival. While his love for Krypton is genuine, his disregard for humanity makes him a destructive force. His clashes with Superman are not just battles of strength, but philosophical debates about the value of life and the ethics of survival. Number 2. The High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary is a scientist obsessed with creating the perfect species. Through his advanced genetic experiments, he manipulates life forms to accelerate their evolution, believing that he's elevating them to their would-be highest potential. His experiments often involve animal-human hybrids and entire artificial societies, which he governs with strict rules in the name of progress. Now, to the High Evolutionary, his work is not villainous, but a moral imperative. He sees himself as this godlike figure with the responsibility to guide life towards perfection. He often clashes with heroes like the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy, who view his actions as unethical and harmful. Now, despite his grand ambitions, his experiments frequently lead to suffering and destruction, as his perfect creations often rebel or just fail to thrive. Hashtag not so perfect. And finally, number 1, Mysterio. Quentin Beck, better known as Mysterio, is a master illusionist who initially sought fame and recognition as a special effects artist. Now, when his career failed, he turned to crime, using his expertise to create elaborate illusions. Mysterio often viewed himself as misunderstood, believing that society failed to appreciate his genius. In Spider-Man Far From Home, and also its comic inspirations, Mysterio presents himself as a hero, fabricating disasters so that he can come in and save people and then earn the admiration that he craves. He genuinely believes that he is entitled to the fame and respect given to heroes like Spider-Man, even if it means resorting to deception and manipulation. He'll do whatever it takes. Thanks for joining us on Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host, Taylor McWatters, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
If you've ever felt like you don't quite fit in, that your brain works a little differently than everyone else's, then you might have more in common with these superheroes than you think. First up on our list, Cyclops, the founding member of the X-Men, is a mutant with the ability to project powerful optic blasts from his eyes. This power, while incredibly destructive, also comes with a significant